Dennis's Heating and Air Conditioning is Northern California's premier heating and air conditioning contractor. From residential housing, large commercial projects, installation to repair, sheet metal fabrication, and everything in between, we are your go-to heating and air conditioning specialist.
From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your morning update.
Your weekend weather update is made possible by Caltrans District 2.
Hey folks, good morning and happy Saturday. We finally made it to the weekend, and honestly I think this is a pretty nice way to start the weekend. We're not too hot out there. Of course, last weekend and even over the last couple, I was talking to you about heat advisory level temperatures. Not so today. We're about 15 degrees removed from that. We're in the upper 80s out there in the valley, upper 70s in Siskiyou and Modoc County, maybe right there near 80 for our highs. And we'll see those lower 80s down the eastern mountains, out through Plumas County as well, through the 395 corridor too. So it's a really nice day out there. In fact, I would bet a good handful of us in the valley, especially the northern portions of the valley in Shasta County, Tehama County too. We'll probably be right there around 90, I'd say. Along the coast, we'll be in the lower 60s, maybe some mid-60s in there, and a nice day for a good handful of us. Maybe a little bit of fire danger. I do want to mention that because we are in fire season here. We got that moderate level risk here from the valley south and west as well. Of course, we have that low risk for the rest of us. I don't think it's too pressing out there, but with that confluence of conditions flowing there into the valley, just kind of wanted to bring that up there. Otherwise, I think the main story for the next 7 days and really into the next few days especially, those cooler than average temperatures, which we're, like I said, kind of seeing today, right, with those triple digits pretty much out of here for the time being. Of course, the western United States is the bullseye for that, well below average temperature range, right? Notice up here in the Pacific Northwest, we're talking Seattle down to really most of Washington and Oregon as well. That's where your coolest temperatures will be. We're not necessarily in that middle of that bullseye, but we are in the regime where we do have cooler than average temperatures. And of course, as a result, you know, weather is a give and a take, right? Off to our east, we have well above average temperatures. So it's going to be quite the scorcher out there for the plains, maybe out towards the Rockies even, and of course further east and south as well. But as a result of this, we're not really seeing those triple digits, right? Let's take a look at the 7-day forecast here, fresh from the Weather NorCal Command Center. Of course, there's your marine layer whipping for the next 7. That's to be expected. Right there around 60, within 1 to 2 degrees is the expectation here for the next 7 days. But head a little further inland, and you notice those really consistent 80s. In fact, as we're heading through, let's say Monday or so, even towards portions of the end of the week, some of us are in the lower 80s, might even be like 79, 80-ish, right around there in portions of eastern Humboldt County. Wouldn't shock me in the slightest if we do see that in that time frame. Out towards Trinity County as well. Notice we really don't break the 90s, I would say, until about Wednesday or Thursday in terms of consistency there. Maybe about Tuesday, but still we're going to be pretty steadily in the mid-80s, I'd say. Not much higher than that through this first half of the week and this weekend as well. So be sure to take advantage of those conditions if you're not a fan of the blistering heat, because I don't think we're seeing that back until maybe a couple weeks from now as a ridge takes back over. Mount Shasta City, it's the same story. Notice those consistent lower 80s, maybe a little bit of mid-80s in that midweek time frame. If you notice what I was talking about in terms of the little further areas inland, that seems to be that temporary warm-up trend where we get back to the mid-80s out here. Again, Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe into Thursday, but that doesn't really stick around too long. Modoc County, it's the same story, very much a rinse and repeat type of thing. Mount Shasta City and Alturas and Modoc County, because you're so close together there. Out towards the eastern mountains, it's the same story. We'll be back in the 90s by Tuesday or so. I would say not going to get much higher than mid-90s there in the midweek. So as we head towards the valley, I do think we'll see some more triple digits creeping back in. Not high triple digits, though. We'll be right there around 100 for the midweek.